Okay, so we're going to get started here. We're going to go over basically blueprint basics. So as you can see, I've got like a quick access here. If you want to get to the industrial tab, it's normally found in this Neocom under industry. You have to actually click on the industry. You'll also find some other things here for PI and mining. But this is the industry tab or industry window. You'll notice that there are a lot of options here, kind of going all over. In our corp, we have a central repository, so we just have owned by corp. I can also do owned by me, which is very little. I usually put all my blueprints and blueprint copies into the corporation. So let's go over some basics. We'll have our blueprint here, and if you take a look, let's look at this one. This is the an unresearched blueprint. You can tell because it's 00. Now you'll see right here, material efficiency. This is basically the how much material will it take to build. You'll see this window down here, which is all of the materials that you'll need. They have added a quick little buy all, which is nice. You can buy all these and build one run of this. The other way to see this is here in the industry window. It'll actually show you this, and it will increase with each job run. So what is and the next thing is time efficiency, which is basically affects this job duration right here. So what is the benefit of kind of running these? If you look at this one's been partially researched. Now, if you notice real quick, let's go take a look at the titanium, because it's the easiest to see. 751 units. If we go here and look at just one that's got a material, it's 691. Now, on some of these smaller blueprints, you're not going to notice a whole lot of difference. However, when you start getting up into things that are much larger, like capital ships, these MEs and TEs really come into play. It can actually help a lot. An example you can see from a 100 MN afterburner. Okay, time. Let's see here. Time would be 30 minutes. You're looking at 19,000 titanium, and then a more researched one. You're looking at 25 minutes and 18,000. So that's reduced by a good amount. So how do we do this? Well, you can take a blueprint. Okay, you'll notice these little options here. Of course, the first one is manufacturing, material efficiency, time efficiency, and copying. So on the material efficiency, all you have to do is load up your blueprint, and then you run how many you want, how many percentages you want off of this. Material efficiency runs on a 1-for-1 basis. So for every run you do, you'll get 1%. For a time efficiency, it's for every run you do, you get 2%. So it's still got 10 runs, but you're going to get 20% if you go all 10. Now you'll notice that the number amount changes the job duration. Some of these can take extremely long. If we look at, for instance, a cormorant. Oops. Why am I not able to spell cormorant? C-O-R-M. Oh, that's right. Need more coffee. Okay, so right here, if we were to try and run material efficiency up to 10, you'll see it exponentially grow. 26 days to get a full 10% of material efficiency. Compare that to this here, where it's 2 days. So you have to just kind of keep an eye on these things to kind of make sure that these things, that you don't end up putting things in for 24 days without realizing you're going to be waiting 24 days for this. A good rule of thumb is to kind of take it in chunks. So 24 hours is a common use. Try to keep things around 24 hours. You'll also kind of see the bonuses that you get according to your skills. And then, of course, how much this is going to cost you. And it breaks everything down. It's actually pretty nice. You've got your facility tax, your total job cost, in case you want to keep a little bit more, detailed notes on what you're doing. So, if we were to go and put this in right now at 1, it's going to take 1 hour and 34 minutes. So all you do is you come here and you hit start. Now you'll notice right here, the blueprint becomes unavailable. So it basically takes it out of your inventory and uses the actual blueprint. Okay, so while you're doing these things, they can't be used for anything else. You can't do time efficiency on it. You can't copy it. You can't manufacture from it. So that usually is what people do, is they'll research a blueprint up to a certain point. You try to go for 1020s. That's usually the end goal, and then you'll create a copy. So time efficiency is the exact same. You come here, you put one run. Let's go to the base one here, and you'll see this is 4 hours for time efficiency. You're going to get 2% out of this though. So once it's done, you'll see that this will go up to 2%. If you were to do ME, this would go up to 1% on one run. Now, are there any questions about that?
I think it's 4 minutes, not 4 hours, right?
Right. Sorry, yeah. I was up late. We were mining in BR, and so I've had 4 hours of sleep. Thank you for correcting that. So yeah, I mean, this is the easiest thing you can do, is these MEs and TEs. They are time consuming though. Okay. So just be aware of that if you have blueprints, your goal should be, even on these little blueprints for things like afterburners, armor platings, ammos, you should try and get them up, right? You should always try to get the ME and TE up. Now, once you've got the ME and TE up to a point where you're like, look, I'm good with this and I want to go, what you can do is come here and you can decide, I want to make a blueprint copy. Okay. So how blueprint copies work, you've got 2 different boxes here, along with a skill requirement. Okay. So if you notice here, if I raise the job runs, I'm going to get 2 separate blueprint copies of one actual item that I'll make if I were to put this into manufacturing. If I put this to 2, I am now going to get 2 copies of 2 items. So I'll be able to make 4 of this item here if I were to manufacture it. And again, it goes up. So you would be, here is 6, 8, as you go up. So just remember, these multiply. And so you can sometimes just run 1 and, do 200 as the max. Okay, it'll take you 12 hours to get, and you'll get 1 run of 200. So what this comes into play is if you wanted to use this in manufacturing, that one run, that one blueprint copy would be taken out of the rotation, and you could run, if you did it up to 200 of those. If you were to take this and copy 2 of these, you're going to get 2 separate blueprint copies. You could one run as a manufacturing and run the other as an invention. So it just kind of, you got to play around with what you want, what you're looking for. A lot of times, as you go, goes up, you'll get an exponential kind of rise as well. Not as bad as the research is. Is there any questions about that? Cool. All right, so I've got a blueprint for researching, or for invention. Okay, invention sometimes is the one that eludes people, and they're not really sure what's going on. So,
Sorry, can I ask a question about
What's up?
Copy. That's a question about copy memory.
Yeah, sure.
Um, is it better to have more runs, like on a single copy, or just more copies in general?
It depends. It depends. So, for instance, when you're dealing with maybe, say, let's find a nice one here. Ammos, drones. Um, you know, like right here, there's 100 runs on this one, and we have multiple ones. Well, what you can do is you can actually divvy these out to different people, sell them on the market, things like that. But each one will give you, whatever runs are remaining, or how many it was set up for, that many drones. So sometimes it's a good thing. On ships, maybe not. So like here's an Abaddon that's just a 1-1. It'll produce one Abaddon. So it all comes down to what is your job duration, what is the research look like, what are you looking for. So you can really kind of make it your own. There's no standard. But typically what'll happen is you'll kind of find that space that you like, that you're comfortable with, and that's where you'll probably go more towards that. So it all kind of comes down to what do you feel is the best for your kind of gameplay. Does that help?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the rule of thumb I typically stick to is like if it's a charge, an ammo, something that's highly, like, massively used, like drones, and they may be lost. It's better to have single ones with high job runs on them. So one run of a drone, one actual BPC with 100 runs on it. But something like ships, sometimes it's not the best, but it does sometimes happen. Like I recently just had to produce an epithal. I think so. Right here's 8 epithals that are running off of one blueprint. I think it's actually 10. I ran. Somebody put in a request, so I ended up just doing a run for 10, and it wasn't too bad on my time index and the total cost. So you got to just kind of get a feel for what's kind of going through and how it's coming. So kind of leading into this, I did research this one here, and I wanted to kind of show you what it looks like. So if you notice, we went from this blueprint general tab, okay, to the jobs tab. Now, right here, this is all owned by Corp, okay, and then there's a by me. So just make sure that you're always kind of keeping track of that. You can do all kinds of things, like, for instance, because I'm CEO, I can see what's installed by me and what's installed by Corp mates. You can have kind of these activities. You can really narrow it down to find what you want. Once a blueprint is done, you can come here and see its status, and if it's finished, okay, you can actually hit deliver. Okay, now that was for the material. So you'll see right here, it says it's researched. You got your plus 1%. Okay, if we come back to the blueprints, you'll notice this now states 1%. Right? So these are kind of all the different ways of getting a blueprint up to a good quality to where you can use it, make money off of it, things like that. And this is really where the bigger things happen with blueprints, which is invention. Invention really kind of struggles. Some people really have struggles with it. It's actually not as hard as it looks. So once you load up a blueprint copy into, let me see here. Once you load up a blueprint into the invention, it's got to be a copy. Okay, you'll notice a few things. Okay, there's a requirement of resources, which is data cores. Okay, then there's something down here which is for basically to help optimize. Okay, now if I do something like click around here, you'll notice that this number actually changes. Okay. So that's a 38%. However, it may help, your actual end ME and TE. This is the thing that gets people confused about tier 2s. This is a reflection of the original blueprint copy. The only way to affect this ME and TE of tier 2s is through use of things like this, where you have these decryptors, and they can change all kinds of things. So you'll notice here the ME went down, your chance of success went down, but your time efficiency went down. So this is really where you can affect the final tier 2 a lot. If you look at something like this, this is the base, right? It's going to be a fraction of what the BPC is made of, okay? And this is, you're looking at right now 36% chance. So if you were to put this one in, you've got a 1 out of 3 chance pretty much of getting anything tier 2 out of it. Okay, you can change that with things like this. This just jumped it up to 69. Okay, so you want to play around with this stuff. These data cores are the hard part, where you have to get these, and you have to, like right now we're importing them from Jita because we just don't have the access. So this is where a lot of you have to go do a lot of missions. You can find them on certain rats, things like that, sites, but typically they're got through running missions in high sec, low sec. So let's go back to this steel plate. Okay. Now you'll notice here that this is locked off. Okay, it says it cannot go forward because I'm trying to add an augmentation decryptor, which I don't have. So if you see here, it's grayed out. I have optimized attainment decryptors, so I can load that in. It's now all blue, and it's good to go. I have an 81% chance. So this is going to take 2 hours to outcome. Okay. Now, let's see here. Are there any questions about the invention process?
What happens if it fails? Do you use the material on the copy?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. So let's say you put this in and you don't add in any kind of decryptor, and you end up with like this one, and you have a 30% chance of getting something, and it fails, you will lose the blueprint. The blueprint copy gets destroyed in the process, right? So if you were to run this, your chances are very low, and you're not going to get it. So typically when you're doing inventions, you're going to want single blueprints with high job runs, because you're going to want to let it go a lot. So you'll notice here, if I were to increase the job runs, let me go to one that has some more. Okay, if you look at this, if I were to increase the number of runs, you're going to watch everything goes up. Data core use goes up, my time goes up, but you're now throwing more at the problem. So a 1 out of 3 chance, if you were to run just 10, okay, well, you divide that by 30, you times that by 35%, and that's your estimated outcome. I've had it come way under that. I've had it come over that. So it's just a probability. But the actual blueprint copy does get destroyed in the end.
And you lose the cores too on the decryptors.
Yeah, the cores get consumed. Everything gets consumed in the process.
That's kind of rough.
Yeah, it is. It can be. Yeah, it can be very depressing. Which is why it's good to try and get these, these add-ons, because, I mean, it's like, would you rather have a 30% chance or a 60% chance? So it can be worth it sometimes if you know something is worth getting into. like right here, an 81% chance, that's not bad. You know, if you were to if you were to throw 100 runs at it. Okay, I'm sorry, but you're gonna stay on mute. If you were to run 100, then you're probably going to get somewhere around 80 tier 2 blueprints of this. Blueprint copies, I should say. So, with that, I want to kind of explain what these little output folders are here, and I think that'll be the end of kind of the instruction, and we'll go to just a questions. So right here, this is your input material location. Now, a lot of times when you're running things out of your own, if you go here, it doesn't give you really anything. It just kind of shows you, because it's going to be in your hangar and back out to your hangar. Okay, but if you go to a corporate owned, okay, it wants to know what your input is. So you're going to have, if your corp doesn't have this, you're going to have a division which you have access to put resources into, or have someone who can put those resources into it for you. And then you're going to want to output to somewhere. So typically, when we are doing tier 2 research in Anaka, our research division is our research, which contains all of our data cores and all of our additional options. And our output is either trading, supply, or manufacturing. It just depends on what's going to be going on. If we want to sell tier 2 BPOs, it's probably going to go into trading. If we want to just keep them for later, it would go into supply. If we want those to go into manufacturing, we would say manufacturing. From there, the department head of over manufacturing can just go in the manufacturing division, see what blueprints are there, take them over to, right now we have Raven's Nest, which does manufacturing, and that whole process can kind of go. So if you ever get into corporate blueprints, this is very important, because what happens is say you start from the research division and you want it to go to you, which would be our general division is open to members. If you were to leave it on research, that blueprint would be locked to you and you wouldn't be able to get it. You'd have to go and talk to a director or one of the chief officers to go get it for you. So you want to make sure to keep an eye on these kind of things. I forget a lot of times and it really sucks. It happens though. But just keep an eye on that. So with that, that's pretty much it for what I have. I'm going to open it up for questions. So go ahead. Nobody?
I have a question, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase it.
No worries.
You have different hangars that have different blueprints for different jobs, I suppose. Do you actually have to physically give a brace to the BPO, or can you just work out of a hangar?
Well, it depends on your corp, right? So in our corp, right, if I wanted to, let's say I was just a member, right? And I wanted this to go to me, okay, let's say for manufacturing, what I would do is I would change this to the general division. General is open for everybody in Anaka Industries. I can't say anything else for anybody else's corporation. We leave this open for all members, so that way they can output to that. You can put secure containers in there and put passwords on them, and the whole container can only be removed by a chief officer. But nobody else could get access to it. So a lot of people have personal, if you notice, let me see here. So we don't have any here. It's over in Raven's Nest. There's a lot more because people are manufacturing. But these are the different divisions. So like, for instance, if we go to research, all of our blueprints are in research. But because of the way we have rights, nobody can pull it out except for a chief officer. And so you couldn't...
But you can still work on
But you... Yes, correct.
hangar. Okay.
Yeah, so we have roles to allow people to be researchers, which means they can research, they can copy, and they can invent. And they can make for themselves. We limit our invention. If you want to use your own resources, then we would say make a copy and then go and put it into your personal hanger. You know, I would take a copy, go over here to my personal hanger, add this in, and I would run it from here. If you're going to do it for the corp, then we say leave it in here and invent from our resources. So it's really just based on your corp and how your corp runs. We're an industrial corp, so this is what we do. We're focused on this kind of stuff. So that's kind of how things work. If you want to see, I can run over to Raven's Nest real quick, and I can show you what our manufacturing looks like. It's very similar, except for our manufacturing division has all of the BPCs, and then let's see here, Raven's Nest. And so there's no BPOs over in Raven's Nest. BPOs don't leave from the research place. It would just be, it's inefficient and it risks the BPO. Your biggest thing is you want to lock your BPOs down. You don't want to have people, running those around. You don't want to be running those around. It just gets dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
So right here, if you notice, manufacturing division, all BPCs along with resources that we leave in here for the production of actual BPCs for our corporation. In order to be a manufacturer with us, there's a bit, we kind of make it a little bit more strict just because with resources, there's a lot more money going on, and it's we don't want people using it to produce their own things off of our resources that we've kind of spent money. And so it's all just kind of it depends on, like I said, like your corp,
Yeah, it's all involved, not that's what the industry.
Yep.
The adoptive corp, at least.
Any more questions? Okay, well, that's pretty much it. That's the basics of blueprints. They're really not that hard. My suggestion is buy a BPO if you don't have one. Something that's cheap. You can find them out there for like $1 million ISK, maybe even less. And just, mess around with it. I started off with ammo, tungsten ammo. And I turned it into a 1020. And, this was in high sec, and I started producing stuff. I just either bought the minerals or I refined them, depending on what was more cost effective. Up here, you have the great benefit of having way better refining, and just start playing around with it. Don't worry about it. Find something that's low cost, that's not gonna drain your bank, and just get used to it. Get used to researching. Get used to copying. Get used to turning those copies into tier 2s, and then producing those tier 2s as well. Produce the tier 1 versions. Lots of things sell. Ammo is always in need. Rigs are always in need. So whenever you go into, your ship, all of these rigs right here, they're always in demand. Now, there's a little bit more that goes into these rigs as far as time. They don't, and kind of skills. A lot of times, you'll see this little skill box here. Like right here, I'm missing Mechanical Engineering 1 in order to be able to build this. It's not really that hard to skill into. I go over to my skills, I go purchase it. With that note, there are some skills that you cannot remote train. And these are like the encryption methods. So Caldari encryption methods, Minmatar encryption methods. You have to have that book. I've tried. It's a pain in the butt. So because there's no one selling them around here. And so it just tells you no. So just always kind of keep an eye on that. This is what's going to limit you as far as your skills. This is going to limit you on what your resources are. And then sometimes there's an additional one that's required. So because this is an augmented, it's going to take 2 tier 2s to produce 1 augmented Praetor. So it can get complicated, but I would suggest starting off really easy. If you go to, here's tungsten small charges. If you look at the info, industry 1 and required input materials, titanium and pyrite. That's it. Really simple, really easy. You can produce 100 at a time. It's a really easy one to get into. So I would suggest finding some ammo that sells well in the market that people seem to be consuming and just make that. Other than that, that's pretty much it. If nobody has anything else, I think we'll wrap it up there and get ready for the Alliance meeting.
Thanks, Noah.
No problem.
Thanks very much.
Hey, Noah, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
So I came very late into the class. My question is, when will the